Do you think this summer has been hotter than normal? Summertime. That's what we're talking about on this episode of the Driving with Rob podcast. I think it was Will Rogers that said, "Everybody complains about the weather, but nobody ever does anything about it." I think it was Will Rogers. I'm going to give Will Rogers credit for it anyway. But here we are almost mid-September. It's past Labor Day. And honestly, I am done with summer. I'm ready for it to be cooler. I'm ready for it to be not crazy hot like it has been. Because I'm a contractor. And quite often I work outside and work in unair-conditioned areas more often than not. And I hate summer. See, in the part of the country that I live in the Southeast. I live in North Carolina. And in the South, you not only get the heat, you get the tropical humidity. As the tilt of the earth causes the sun to hit the tropics, then all of this humidity blows up from the equator and blows it right into my neighborhood. So it's not only the heat, it's the humidity. And I did an electrical job for a guy one time who was originally from New York. He lives in North Carolina now. And he referred to himself as a halfback. Well, I'm familiar with what a football halfback is. Why did you refer to yourself as a halfback? And he was a retired gentleman, and he said, like so many other people, you hear your whole life, if you want to escape the New England winters, when you retire, you move to Florida. And as a result, there are lots and lots of retirement communities in Florida these days. But he said what you find out is, after one summer in Florida, Florida is nice to visit in January and February, but in July and August, Florida is horrible. It's hot, it's sticky, mosquitoes as big as hummingbirds. So you spend one summer in Florida and then you move halfway back. I talked to a good friend of mine from Minnesota once, and I was teasing him about how, being from Minnesota, he must be hating August in North Carolina. And he said it gets just as hot and miserable in Minnesota as it does in North Carolina. He said the difference is, in Minnesota, the heat and humidity lasts for 6 weeks. In North Carolina, it lasts for 6 months. And the people from up north who hate snow and ice hate it for the same reason I hate heat and humidity. Because after you suffer with it your whole life, and you have memories of how awful it was when you were a kid, once you're able to get away from it, you do get away from it. And that's why a lot of northerners move down south. Because they hate the snow and ice. They've suffered with it their whole lives and they want to get away from it. Well, at this stage in my life, I'm thinking moving to the mountains or Alaska would be preferable to the summers in North Carolina. But in the middle of September, I realize I've still probably got another 3 to 4 weeks of heat and humidity. See, in North Carolina, the leaves don't really fall till about mid-November. Up in the high country, up in the Appalachian Mountains, the leaves will start turning about the middle of October. But it's usually the first week of November before they really start turning down here. So I know that even in the middle of September, I've still got about 4 more weeks of working in the heat and humidity. And people keep trying to get the American public to panic over global warming. But it's these same people who watch the same dinosaur shows that I watch will tell you that in the time of the dinosaurs, pretty much all of North America was tropical. Whether it's because the earth was warmer back then, continental drift, a change in the tilt of the earth's axis, whatever it was, they will pretty much universally agree that it was much, much warmer in the time of the dinosaurs. But then about 10,000 years ago, there was an ice age. That the Great Lakes in America were actually formed by melting glaciers. Ice that was miles deep. And then it warmed up again, to the point that you have these inland seas called the Great Lakes that used to be pretty much solid ice. And there's at least one theory that it was glaciers sliding down the Colorado River that created the Grand Canyon. It wasn't millions and millions of years of erosion. It was an abrupt and violent act of a 1 mile thick block of ice sliding through this canyon and just made it deeper and deeper, and didn't slowly erode into the Grand Canyon, but violently tore a gash in the earth and created the Grand Canyon. So what caused the earth to be warmed then? There were no aerosol cans, there were no CFCs, no auto emissions, and then it suddenly got colder. And then it suddenly got warmer. But that's my little brief sermonette on global climate change. I believe global climate change is a real thing. I just don't believe human beings caused it. I believe that climate change is cyclical, and that the climate all over the earth has changed and will continue to change for as long as the earth exists. And they say that the global warming is what is causing an increase in catastrophic hurricanes. Well, I don't know that there is exactly an increase in catastrophic hurricanes. I believe hurricanes have always existed just like everything else has. You just notice it more now because of all the commercial real estate developments on the coast and a much, much denser population now than there was 100 years ago. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, you could walk on Myrtle Beach and not see another person. And now there are tens of thousands of people every day just walking on the beach. So now when a hurricane hits, yeah, it makes the headlines. Because now it causes a lot more damage than it caused 100 years ago, 150 years ago. But whether it's global warming, global climate change, or what, I'm just here to tell you that I've had enough of summer for 1 year. I've had my fill. I'm ready for it to be cooler. I'm ready for all the blood-sucking insects to die. That includes fleas, ticks, and mosquitoes. I'm tired of the heat. I'm tired of the humidity. And then this year is the most contentious presidential election in my memory. So you're inundated with the politicians blaming each other for everything and promising that they are the answer, that they are the ones who can change it. On top of about 8 months now of the COVID-19 quarantines and the COVID-19 lockdowns. So yeah, I'm like you, I'm completely tired of COVID-19. I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of it being a thing. And I want it to get back to normal. But I also want the heat and humidity to go away. Looking forward to fall. And that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. I appreciate you listening. I hope you're staying cool. Hope you're staying protected from the COVID-19. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you next time. Bye now.